April 19 to March 20, stations and departments across the brigade have increased the use of water by 14%, but there's been a decrease in the use of electricity by 3.4% and gas by 1.23%. On page 13 of the paper, we've got a breakdown of the actual costs of gas, water and electricity during the year. We also monitor textile and book recycling, and we have a scheme in place which has raised £26,625 during the year for the Firefighters Charity. So that's actually achieved by rag banks and recycling of books. Fire stations have raised £23,714. Schools and community sites have raised £1,639. And the book banks cited at fire stations have raised £1,272. So that's all very good for the environment in recycling, but also gives money to the Firefighters Charity as well. We also recycle our paper and cardboard at our stations and our headquarters, and we have trade waste recycling, and that's detailed in the second bullet point there on page 13. We monitor our carbon emissions, and we have a table on page 14 that shows our carbon emissions, and that's from the usage of electricity and gas. And the 2019-20 figures show an increase in CO2 emissions of 1.7% from the previous year. The bullet point on page 14 then goes into details of environmental incidents of note and gives a breakdown of those particular incidents. For example, gas leaks, smell of fumes, chemical spillage, etc. Incidents which have an environmental impact. We now include environmental implications on every authority committee report so that we can monitor and consider the effects of on the environment of the things that we're putting forward. Moving on to page 17, it gives an update of environmental initiatives that we've been involved with. As I say, we have an environmental working group that meets 6 monthly. We monitor our energy usage and our water consumption. We also participate in the annual travel to work and car sharing scheme with the local authorities. So each year, the local authorities and several businesses within West Yorkshire carry out an annual travel to work survey. And the survey results provide useful information on how people travel to work, the impact of that on the environment, as well as providing year-on-year comparison information. So we continue to promote the West Yorkshire Travel Plan Network car sharing scheme and have done that during the year. We also have a cycle to work scheme in place, and during April to March, we had 46 members of staff who were registered for that. One was a non-uniform member of staff, 2 were from control, and the others were operational staff. We have 3 females who subscribed to that scheme. One was a non-uniform staff, 1 from control, and 1 was operational. And overall, we've spent £49,000 during the year on that particular scheme. So this is to encourage staff to keep active and healthy by cycling to work, and it allows staff to purchase bikes at a reduced price via a salary sacrifice scheme. We also have an area on our website regarding fair trade, and we continue to attend the Kirklees Fair Trade Forum meetings, which are held every 2 months. We took part in the Fair Trade Fortnight during February to March, and we sent out event packs to our district officers for them to promote that initiative. Our vending machines at headquarters include some fair trade products as well. We also have recycling initiatives, and there is a bike library scheme which is run in the Calderdale district, and during the year we have loaned out 1,809 bikes. This has been running for 3 years now, and during the 3 years we've had a total of 3,364 bikes that have been loaned out. This is really positive because this is ensuring people are active, and what we do is we have bikes donated, we recycle them, we kind of fix them up, and we allow people to loan them, whilst also giving them information regarding cycling, cycle routes, maintenance of a bike, etc. We also have tracking technology on our transport. So we monitor how the vehicle is driven, how it's being braked and accelerated, and look at efficiencies. of vehicles and monitor the usage. We also have 8 electric vehicle charging points that have been commissioned at headquarters, 8 cars on order but have been delayed due to COVID, and electric vehicle charging points also installed at Killingbeck Fire Station by Leeds City Council. All new appliances and cars and vans are now Euro 6 emissions. We've carried out refurbishment works at Moortown Fire Station to include energy efficient initiatives, and new heating boilers have been installed which are more energy efficient at a number of fire stations. We now have the rebuild of the Wakefield Fire Station, and that will be energy efficient as well. So this is to give members an update on where we are with our environmental initiatives for members to note. I'm happy to take any questions. Sorry, Councillor Tate, I think your microphone's switched off.
Sorry, so it is. So I was just saying thank you to Alison for that. There's some really good work going on there, and I know this report is primarily pre-COVID because it's the last financial year.
Yes.
But have you seen any impact in the reduction potentially because of COVID in the book recycling, and then is there been any increase in the cycle schemes during the period?
Okay, the cycle scheme is actually suspended due to COVID, so
right.
Obviously that that will have a major impact on that, which is very unfortunate. But obviously we can understand the reasons for that. Mm-hmm. Regarding the recycling, again, I expect that there will be a reduction in that, but we haven't had an environmental working group meeting since we've been. Right. The one was due when we were in lockdown, so we cancelled that one. But we have a meeting scheduled for the 9th of November, so we'll be able to get an update on that then. And obviously we'll report it back to members in the next report insofar as, how that had changed. Yeah.
Do any other members have any questions, comments?
Can I come in, Chair?
Yes, Councillor Graham.
Okay, look, page 14, Chair. Alison, page 14, environmental incidents of note. If you come down to where the ICE is, ICE.
Yes.
Right, can you give me some details of that one as regarding where I am involved in the risk IRMG, assault involving corrosive materials as well? What's happened there then?
Right, there was an incident where somebody had thrown some substance over a couple of people, and we get involved obviously in going out to that to determine what that is. So that's an example of one of those, Councillor Graham.
Okay, I got it, love, right. Chemical exposure ice then, what's that one then? What's happened there then?
Again, it's individual chemical exposure, so that could be, unfortunately, if somebody decides to commit suicide and they use a chemical in doing so, that could have an exposure for others when they go out to that. So that's an example of exposure to chemicals.
Okay, thank you. That'll do then, Chair. Thank you. Thank you, Alison.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions or comments? No, can't see anybody's hands up. So I'd say thank you very much for that. And it is interesting to see and the good work for it to continue going forward. So the report is for noting. So thank you. And so we shall move swiftly on to agenda item 6. So that's the Information Governance Annual Update, which I believe is over to Alison Davey again. And this report is for noting too.
Thank you, Chair. So this is to provide an annual update on our information governance arrangements which have been put in place. So the report provides an update on the key areas of development during the year regarding information governance, information security and the wider protective security arrangements. We have 2 groups. We have a strategic group, which is the Information Governance Strategic Group, and we have an operational corporate information management group. So those particular groups meet quarterly, and they continue to develop and implement and promote information governance across all departments and coordinate activities relating to information, physical and personal security aspects across the service. The Chief Fire Officer has signed an information governance statement, to show the commitment of the organisation regarding our information governance arrangements. And this is actually quoted as best practice in audits that we've had around these areas. The requirements of the General Data Protection Regulation, GDPR, was introduced on the 25th of May 2018. So we continue to implement arrangements, and we have constant reviews on those to ensure that we are continuing to adhere to the regulation. To ensure the Data Protection Act, we comply with that, we have data protection audits conducted throughout the service. And those audits look at the arrangements that we have, policies and procedures that we have in place, verify that those policies and procedures are being followed by staff, test the accuracy, adequacy and controls that are in place, and we detect any breaches or potential breaches of compliance and recommend any actions or controls where weaknesses have been identified. So the audits are planned on a 3-yearly cycle, but with the high risk areas which will have more audits, more regular audits. Generally, the audits are showing a high compliance with our data protection and security policies and procedures. And to date, we've been provided with assurance with regard to data security. So that's very pleasing that those audits are coming out as positive. Clearly, there will be actions that come out of those, and we'll make sure that those are developed throughout the service. A data security learning training package was developed to provide bespoke security trainings for staff. And within the report, it says we have 92% compliance against that. And that's moved up to 94 now. 94% of our staff have completed that e-learning, and we are constantly chasing the 6% that are still outstanding. But there could be reasons for that. They could be on a career break, or they could be on long-term sick, but we do continue to chase those. We also carry out face-to-face data protection training that's been delivered at fire stations for crews, with particular regard to the safe and well visits, in order to ensure that staff are aware of the data protection obligations whilst visiting the service users. We also held 2 training events on the 4th and 5th of February, in which 40 members of staff attended one of the events, and the training provided an overview of GDPR and the Data Protection Act and what's required for the organisation to comply with the legislation. To ensure that Information Asset Register is updated in real time, information asset owners are now required to take direct ownership of their assets listed on the register. So we provided them with documentation and training on how to do that, and they are required to report any changes to the register to the Information Governance and Security Group. Information governance policies are constantly reviewed, and new policies are introduced as required, and that supports our information governance arrangements. In March this year, unfortunately, we saw the beginning of the COVID lockdown, and our non-operational staff were instructed to work from home. So home workers have been provided with data security guidance, specifically for working from home, to ensure that the data remains safe and secure whilst they are doing so. We've also worked closely with partner agencies to share data to assist with the vulnerable, shielding from COVID-19, and care has been taken to ensure compliance with the data protection legislation, ensuring privacy impact assessments and information sharing agreements are in place to support the data transfer and data matching. During our customer service excellence audit in November last year, the assessor confirmed that West Yorkshire Fire and Rescue Service have maintained the Compliance Plus standard for the way we protect customer privacy, both face-to-face and in the transfer and storage of customer information. So that's all very positive, and Compliance Plus means we go over and above what the standard would expect. We constantly monitor ourselves against a number of toolkits that are available, and at paragraph 2.14 on page 22, you will see how we have scored ourselves against those. So the data security and protection toolkits, we are 100% compliance with that. The information security standard, 99% compliant, and the HMG security policy framework, 97% compliance. We will develop actions from that to ensure that we continuously monitor and maintain that and improve as much as we can as well. We deal with the freedom of information requests and subject access requests, and during the year we have complied with the statutory timescales on all of those, with the exception of one FOI, which unfortunately was overdue by 3 days. That was due to an administrative error, and that is unfortunate because it changes our unblemished previous record. But it was only 3 days, and we did apologise to the requestor and made sure that that information was made available at the earliest opportunity.
What were those requests about, please?
The freedom of information requests. Yes, they can be about any topic, any information that we hold, Councillor Harrand, is available to the public. So they may well ask about contracts that we have, equipment that we use, for example, in our IT departments. They might ask for our asbestos reports on premises. So all of that information we will make available to them. We will redact particular information if it's not appropriate for that to be released. But as a public body, in the main, our information is available to members of the public. But it comes through.
That's what they might ask. What did they ask about?
Oh, which the one that was late?
No, there were 16 requests. What were they about?
16 requests. Sorry, Councillor Harrand.
There were 15. Sorry. Paragraph 215. What were those requests and information? What were they about? What did they want to know?
The 15 SARs, they're subject access requests, and those are requests from individuals for their own personal information. So anybody can put in a subject access request to the organisation to ask for the information that we hold on them individually. So we had 15 of those that we dealt with during the year, and they may well ask for all of the information that we hold on them. That could be their personal record file, it could be emails regarding a certain topic, etc. And some will put in a subject access request and ask for all the information that we hold. And what we would try to do is work with them to actually try to find out what it is that they're actually looking for and provide, so we can search for that information and provide it as much as possible.
And the 141 freedom of information, just the general subject headings. Obviously, don't want to know the details, but what were they about?
Yes, like I say, they can be on anything. For example, it could be asbestos surveys at fire stations, which we've had recently. It could be asking about which contractors we have in place, where we procure our IT equipment. It could be any across a general wide range.
It could be. What was it though? I understand what it could be. What was it? What were they about?
What, the 141?
Yeah, sure. Well, if there's a lot of questions about asbestos, I think I'd like to know.
Yeah, those are the kind of things that those requests would have been about, and those are the kind of things we get.
All right, I'm not getting it. I just like to know if somebody tells me we not spend more than an hour on it, what those questions are about. I think perhaps other councillors would be interested as well.
I think it might be difficult to answer that at this particular time, but I think if it's maybe something, if want further information on, if that could be sent on at a later date or something, because this is just a general overview. Yeah, is that all right?
That's fine. I can give you a breakdown of the areas for those 141, Councillor.
Thank you.
Okay, so moving on, we had environmental information requests. We had 36 during the year, and that actually generated an income of £7,287. We also have an access to images request system. So that relates to any requests for video footage that has been captured on our appliances, on our fixed cameras, our silent witness or mobile video. And in 2019-20, we received a total of 101 requests to access CCTV footage. We make charges for our IRS reports, and during 2019-20, we received an annual total of 106 requests. The vast majority of those requests were summary incident reports required for insurance companies, claim handlers, and 10 of them were full IRS reports requested by the police or local authorities. So the income generated from those was £4,896 on a cost recovery basis. In accordance with the Department for Communities and Local Government Transparency Code, we have a statutory duty to provide data transparency to local residents and businesses, and we do that via our website by making sure that the information is available regarding all transactions made via the government procurement cards. That's published on our website on a quarterly basis, in addition to spend over £500. We also provide information relating to senior staff salaries, pay scales, pay multiples alongside the organisation chart. All tender and procurement information is logged on the website for the amount of £5,000 or more. All details regarding our land and assets owned by the service is publicly available as well. And we provide information regarding FBU, Fire Officers Association and Unison activity, which is published. So those are all statutory requirements, and those are provided on our website for members of the public. So there's been significant work and achievements gained towards the implementation and management of information governance arrangements and security controls across the service. And this report is to give assurance to members that we are doing our requirements there. And this report is for members to note. I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you for that, Alison. It looks, it sort of confirms that we've got a very transparent process, and some of those assurances that we get from some of those audits, the exceptional figures that you were showing us in 2.14. So well done for that. So
Yes,
does anybody have any questions and comments? So Councillor O'Donovan.
Yeah, I'm just going to say well done. You know, when these GDPR rules came in 2018, it was quite a sizable piece of work for authorities and organisations and charities to undertake. So I think the fact that we seem to do things so well and generally within agreed timeframes, I think is a credit to the staff that are doing it, really. So yeah, I think it's important that we maintain these kind of figures, these successful figures that we have, because it is really important for the service and for the public. So yeah, well done to all.
Thank you.
Any further comments from anybody? No? Well, I shall just say another then thank you, and yeah, well done to all. So that report was for noting, but we shall add that bit in as well. So thank you, Alison.
Thank you.
So then we move on to agenda item 7, which is the quarterly financial review. So this report is for this, we're noting it, but we're also approving the revised capital plan and approving the transfer of budget contingencies. So I'll hand you over to Alison Wood that will go through this report for us.
Right, thank you. Good morning, everybody. So this report represents the financial performance for the first 5 months of the financial year. So first of all, I need members to approve the transfer of budget to and from contingencies. So there's a range of movements. I'll just go through them very, very briefly. So first of all, 4 temporary control operators were appointed in April. So we need some money transferring from contingencies into control. Also, we've continued to recruit on-call firefighters, for which there's a provision of 240,000 in the contingency budget. We're well underway with actually fulfilling that, so the full amount needs to be transferred. I've also had a review of whole-time firefighter budgets, and it's transpired there is a budget over provision for allowances, and also the recruits course in May had a cohort of 3, whereas with budget provision for 8. Also, in order not to distort support staff budget monitoring, any vacancies that are vacant prior to the 1st of April are actually held in contingencies. Since April, there's been 3 youth intervention employees that have been appointed, thus requiring a transfer. Also, there's an over provision for insurance budgets. These aren't known when we actually put the budget together because we renewed in April. So there's been a saving of 77,000 in this financial year on insurance. In December 2019, the authority approved a revised staffing structure for our day crews close call station, and that requires the authority to actually provide some rented accommodation for those employees that actually don't live in the area. So this is we estimate this to be 100,000 in this year. This is actually to provide the accommodation. That's the maximum amount, so that might not be fully utilised in this financial year. Due to COVID-19, we've also had a look at non-employee budgets. So due to COVID-19, there's been underspends in conferences, public transport, vehicle fuel, subsistence, postages, fire safety publicity. So in total, 148,000 has been moved out of budgets into contingency. The next two are regarding income. So in July, management team approved suspension of the primary authority scheme, for which is £48,000 of income is generated, and also has been increasing the number of secondments in this financial year. So the net effect of those transfers is actually a reduction in the contingency of 360,000. And that is detailed in the table in 2.1.11. So actually moving on to expenditure monitoring in this financial year. Expenditure to date shows that we can actually underspend the budget by an estimated 315,000. That's detailed in 3.4. So the lion's share of that, as per normal, is in employees. So there's 272,000 in whole-time employees. In order to be prudent, rather than moving that budget into contingencies, as we have moved some into contingencies, we are recruiting a number of day crewed firefighter roles, so I'll review that budget as we go through the year. And also, which is usual, 4 firefighters have retired earlier and one has extended the retirement day, which has resulted in a net saving of 53,000. So support staff, underspending by 129,000, and that once again is due to the time lag in actually filling vacancies. So as of the 1st September, there were 8 posts that were vacant, which are in the process of being filled. Training, we're expecting an underspend of 33,000. Once again, that's the impact of COVID-19 and not only the ability of staff to attend training courses, but also the delivery of training courses. So a number of courses are now being delivered online. So income, we're actually projecting an under recovery of income, and that is due once again to COVID-19. So due to COVID-19, the youth training programme was suspended, and also the false alarm calls were also suspended during certain parts of the day. Now, I will be transferring that income and using the COVID-19 grant to actually fund any underspending in income at the year end. So, but I just wanted to bring it to members' attention that we are actually under recovering income. So that brings me on to COVID-19. So members are aware that we received 2.1 million in COVID grant funding. The table shows that so far to date we've spent just short of £500,000, and they actually expect us to have about 401,000 grant outstanding. But obviously due to the escalation of the pandemic, that might change as the year progresses. 5.2 explains the government has announced that local authorities, including fire, are going to be reimbursed up to 5% of their revenue budget for any loss in income for sales and charges. So what the government will do is actually compensate us up to 75 pence in the pound. So we've actually, as per the timetable, we've actually put in a claim to MHCLG of 46,000, and that is primarily for those courses that we've lost due to youth training and external training as well. Section 6 talks about the comprehensive spending review. As you're aware, the comprehensive spending review was launched on the 7th of July with the aim of having a 3-year budget settlement to March 2024. Now, the Chancellor did cancel the autumn budget, so it's still unknown whether we will actually get a 3-year deal or it might be a 1-year deal. I will certainly keep members updated. What I've actually attached the fire spending review proposal, which was a joint document that was put together with the LGA, the NFCC, and also with the assistance of the Home Office. And this is actually putting through a proposal for the fire service as a whole to have additional funding in part of the spending review. So 6.5 details the highlights of the report. So in the report, there's requests for increases for funding or support funding for any increases in pay, pensions, which is certainly a big issue. So the issues regarding the SCAPE valuation, which we received 4.285 million a year from government since that were introduced. And also the effects of McLeod Sargent, which have estimated employer contributions to cost an extra £2 million per annum going forward. So they're really two big issues at the moment regarding pensions. And also the impact of COVID-19 on collection funds. So I'm sure you're all aware that the actual collection of domestic property rates and also business rates, that their district councils are really struggling to collect those. My actual estimation of the deficit has actually come down since July, but it's still at 3.5 million. So, and that's a proportion relating to West Yorkshire Fire. So it's still significant. So, and also on the fire spending review proposal, there's also a request for government to maintain the one-off grants in respect of the building risk review and the protection uplift regarding the Grenfell report, for which we've received over 700,000 for that in this year. So have members got any questions before I move on to capital monitoring? So I know there's quite a lot of information there.
Members?
I just got the one on the youth situation, Chair.
Councillor Graham?
The issue, can you hear me, Alison?
Yes, I can do, Councillor Graham, yes.
Where the youth are concerned, that clawback there, that situation where we've lost the training element. Okay. Can you hear me, Alison?
I can hear you, Councillor Graham, yes. Have you got a question?
The question was where, at the beginning of the meeting, the minutes, as regarding the youth and the situation where the youth is concerned, the training element.
Yes, so the youth intervention programme was actually suspended. Obviously, that involves youth, and obviously schools and colleges were shut, so we couldn't actually deliver that training. However, we have delivered some of that training in a digital format.
Oh, that's it then. That's all that matters, Al. I've got it, lovely. Okay.
Right, thank you.
Councillor Anderson?
Thank you, Chair. I hope this is the right place to ask this. I'm looking at paragraph 6.5.3 of the report about the loss of income due to the reduction in business rates, or the local authorities not collecting the business rates. Does the fire authority itself pay business rates? And if we do, have we had a reduction in hours that might be able to offset some of this?
No, we don't. No, we don't, Councillor Anderson. We just pay its normal rates, well, they're on commercial properties, but we actually, because we're actually funded by government, I think it'd be really, really unethical for us actually not to actually pay our business rates on our properties.
I didn't know if you'd be given a holiday or not.
No, we haven't. No.
Worth a try.
Thank you.
Any further questions so far? No? Okay.
Right, so I'll move on to capital expenditure monitoring. So once again, due to COVID-19, I actually asked managers to actually re-look at the capital plan, because that has been, some areas it has been unable to deliver due to COVID-19. Appendix A actually details those capital schemes that are going to be slipped into the next financial year, which is a total of 1.654 million. So I need members to actually approve that. So actual capital payments during the year, total to date is 2 million, but if you include commitments, then that is 5.7 million, which equates to 53% of the capital plan. The actual schemes and expenditure to date is actually summarised in Appendix B. Management Board approved schemes below £100,000. They're the ones that have been approved since July are actually detailed at the top of page 34. Treasury management, at the moment we've got really healthy investments totaling 51.48 million. These are actually broken down in Appendix C, and this is due to the receipt of top-up grants of 31 million in July. Section 9 details the debtor situation, and Section 10 covers creditors. So happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Alison. Is there any questions from members? Councillor Anderson?
Yeah, on Appendix A, there's a list of scheme slippages for quite a lot of money, and I'm just wondering what the risks are associated with those slippages. For example, if there's 200,000 for general maintenance repairs, so if those schemes haven't been put, that hasn't been able to be done, what's the risk to to the authority. The welfare facilities, the asbestos removal, mobile phones and appliances. There must be a knock-on effect of that not happening.
Yeah, so the ability to actually deliver the plan is due to contractors being actually to get onto our site. So the property manager's actually done an assessment accordingly. If there's anything of an urgent repair, then obviously that would be done. But this is general update. So managers at the moment putting the capital plan together for 21-22. So I would imagine that a fair share of these schemes will be brought forward into 21-22. But we do actually have a capital asset update report which actually shows which assets are actually in need of repair. So the property manager will have gone through and assessed that before he actually did this.
Is there any risk to anybody's safety as regards these mobile phones on appliances? I'm not really sure what that is, but
that was just a one-off scheme really. So there's certainly radios and phones on appliances anyway. It was just the upgrade regarding. So once again, our ICT manager will have done a full risk assessment before she's actually slipped the scheme.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any further questions or comments?
Yes, please.
Councillor Harrand.
Alison, have we completed negotiations with that French company where we've had this commitment for 4 or 5 years? Is that now completely off the books?
No, it isn't, Councillor Harrand. So when I move on to my next paper, which is the reserve strategy, you'll actually see that there's 563,000 in an earmark reserve, which is the outstanding payment for Sistel. So now the Deputy Chief is still in negotiations with Sistel. That's ongoing.
Very unfair question to you, but have you any idea when that's going to be complete?
It's been the negotiations have been ongoing for quite a long period now, so I really can't give you a time scale on that.
All right.
John wants to
3 years. 3 years at least.
John, do you want to come into that one?
Yeah, I think just on the back of Councillor Harrand's question regarding Sistel, we can certainly bring an update at some stage to members just so they're where that's up to. Clearly, it's a commercial contract that's being discussed, so prefer not to do that in a public forum in that respect. But needless to say that we've got a working and fit for purpose system. Obviously, we're just withholding money at this time because we don't believe that the contract's being adhered to in the nature of what it was written in the first place. But happy to bring something back to members.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions or comments? No, doesn't seem to be.
Happy to move it, Chair.
Right, so this is for approving the revised capital plan and the transfer of budget contingencies. So it's being moved. So yeah.
Second it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Right, thank you then. So if we go on to agenda item 8 then, which is the reserve strategy, as Alison just referred to.
Yeah,
so it'll be over to you again, Alison.
Right, thank you, Councillor Tate. So this is members, I need members to approve the reserve strategy. So this is brought to committee every year, so standard format really. So just in brief, so as at the 1st of April, the authority had 5 million of general fund reserves and 29.68 million of earmark reserves, giving a total of 34.668 million, which represents 5.7% of the revenue budget. We actually use it's been a strategy to actually use our reserves to fund the capital plan, and we haven't actually used any external borrowing for the past 9 years, which has actually saved us 4 million in interest charges. 2.7 details a strategy to actually use reserves over the next 4 years. This is under the assumption that the comprehensive spending review may not be as favourable as what we anticipate. So you can see there we anticipate we're going to spend 16 million on the rebuild and major redevelopment of our property assets. We're also going to use 200,000 on investor save initiatives from our service support reserve. We may have to use 2 million regarding pay awards if pay awards are over and above that included in the medium-term financial plan, and also 2 million from the medium-term financial plan reserve in case the comprehensive spending review is not as available. I've also earmarked 4 million in case the government doesn't fund the McLeod Sargent pensions case. So in the short term, we'd actually have to use reserves to do that. So the actual reserve strategy is attached to appendix, and the appendix are happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Alison. Is there any questions or comments from members? No? So, I mean, it's been a good use of reserves. It's also always good. Sorry?
I'm happy to move that report, yeah.
Right, so thank you then. So is everybody else happy to accept that as it is and approve the reserve strategy?
Yeah, seconded. I hope the government give us what we need going forwards, Chair. Don't want to have to rely on all our reserves. We're not here for today, we're here for decades and decades in the future. So happy to approve this, but I do hope that we are, and the public of West Yorkshire are looked after by the government. And so obviously these reserves have been earmarked over the next few years. So but happy to move it all. Second it from Councillor Tully.
Thank you. So we'll take that as an acceptance by all then. There's nobody raising hands to say otherwise. Thank you for that, and then that does actually conclude the meeting for today. So you can that's the formal end of we can turn off the recording of the meeting. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you.